Hello students and welcome to my video. Especially today I'm going to begin another new history chapter which is very famous in the world history and even in the Indian history even. So we will talk about the revolt of 1857. So it is in fact we can call about the first independent war against the British, and our Indians in fact at the time how much they have been suppressed by the foreign power, and when the foreign power actually occupied and dominated, then India was actually in the area of like a enrich, and India was actually burning in a fire, and everywhere actually people were actually engaged with a different like violence activities, and many at times they were all actually against the Britishers policy what they have applied in India. So this is the first independent war we can call it, and also we can call, or also we can declare that this is the first independence year. In fact, we can understand that during this time, suppose many of the educated Indians could have been supported and could have been occupied the area where there is a communication system or a good leadership. It could have been combined in this time, then it could have been already succeeded to get the independence at this time. But here, maximum the educated Indians, maximum the rich people didn't support the Indians, and as a result of they are very much failure in this time. And many people, of course, died, and here many of them are very much like suffered due to this agitation, and many people of course were hanged and then died. So we can remember some of the names during this time, during this discussion. So let us discuss the first part of this report, in fact how it is actually starting. Let's say we have to first of all know about the causes of the revolt. Any of the event that is taking place, certainly there is a causes, and without any cause you can't see any of the events. So therefore the first we have to know about the causes, which are the causes in fact actually gave the spark, and then this particular agitation or the movement has begun. Then again we have to know about the spirit of the revolt, how this revolt was actually spread, and which are the areas spread more, and then people came into together and then fought against the Britishers, and how the situation actually gone at that time. Okay, then again we have to discuss another important point, that is a suppression of the revolt and a failure of the revolt and a new development after the revolt, and we have the case study on the place called Abath. Okay, so let us know that by 1857, by 1857 India had actually completed 100 years of British rule. So when you talk about the 1857, then India actually completing at this time 100 years of the presence or ruling in India. Okay, now during this period, what happened, the Indians were actually very much resented, very much enraged against the Britishers, and then against the foreign policy. The Indians were actually totally out of control. Their anger was full of like a bursting. Okay, so in everywhere the Indians were actually so much of suffering due to their presence and due to their policy. Now, the main objective of the British was to drain India's wealth and to exploit its resources to the maximum. That is in the chapter 5 also we have discussed that there was a theory called drain of wealth. It may say the money which was actually earned from India was not invested in India, rather it was taken to the their own country, and as a result of that, the Indian currency is getting disappeared, becoming weaker, and then people were dying in a hunger, dying in a famine and a sickness, and there was not a single Europeans were actually supporting at this moment to the our Indians. So that is how actually has taken place. So there were like uprisings in almost every part of the country against the oppressive administrative system that was actually applied on the people. Then most of the popular revolts remain localized, and hence these uprisings were actually unable to shake the foundation of the company's rule in India. So British did not thought that Indians could come together and can shake the leg of these Britishers that actually they never thought of in their dream even. So therefore, the Great Uprising in 1857 actually, which actually started at a resistance movement by the soldiers, took the form of a widespread popular revolt. So let us know the some of the causes, since we have already learned that without any cause there is not a event is taking place. So let us know about the causes. So causes of the revolt is basically quite many are there. So let us know the basic causes of this revolt. Now numerous causes can be counted. Okay, so that is I am just mentioning. So here some of the causes are like political causes are there, then economic causes are there, then socio-religious factors also part of and partial of this events. Now when we talk about the this causes and all, so you will be hearing about how this political causes actually occurred. Now let us remember some of the things here. Now some of the policies that is actually Britishers actually adopted by this Lord Dalhousie. He actually brought some of the laws from their country and applied in India, which really actually made the people suffer a lot. Let us know some of the accident that has occurred. Now see the doctrines of lapse. The doctrines of lapse which they applied in the country, especially in the different kingdoms ruled by the different rulers who actually did not have their own natural air. And as a result of that, those kingdoms were actually deprived of and then taken by the Britishers and occupied those areas, and they used the maximum revenue taxes and also the plantation and things like that happened. And so the kings and queens were actually at a like a sad side. So it gave the company the power to annex any state without a natural heir to the throne. And Lord Dalhousie annexed the states of like Satara, Nagpur, then Jhansi by applying this policy. So Dalhousie also started interfering in the internal affairs of the Indian rulers. You know, whenever there is any sort of like a internal matter is going on, Lord Dalhousie in fact entering to this kingdom, and then he is interfering in the middle, and then he is trying to block every bit of like things that they are planning. Okay, so here that is we can find. So what happened here? For example, he annexed Awadh on the ground of poor administration and incompetency of the Nawab. So see, this is the one of the excuse he made, that the Nawab is not that much like powerful. The Nawab is not a competitive minded. He is very weak. He can't do anything. Such kind of excuses they made, and then they interfere and they are entering to this kingdom. And then again, Nawab Wajid Ali Shah was exiled to Calcutta. This actually outraged the people of Awadh and caused resentment among the Indian soldiers of the British Army, as most of them were from Awadh. It means you can see most of the people were from Awadh. In fact, they found very like a it was not a bearable things. They couldn't digest such kind of like a statement the Britishers actually presented to the people, and how when this Nawab Wajid Ali Khan was actually kept or he was put in the exile, then many of them actually got hurt because of the Nawab is kept in the exile. So those should not be. So people are very sensitive, and people were very much like taking care of that, and then they were very much respecting the Nawabs and all. And as a result of what happened here, many of the people raised their voice against this system, and then the people from other parts of the country also became apprehensive after witnessing the fate of Awadh. Okay? So the last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Jafar, also known as the Bahadur Shah II, was under the protection of the company and received a pension from them. It means his kingdom was actually taken by the Britishers, and then he was kept as like a just a kind of like a nominee, just for the name's sake. But every bit of things are collected, like revenue or taxation or trade license, everything the Britishers themselves were doing. And all the money matter the Britishers were only collecting, but not the Nawabs and all. Nawabs were only the maintaining and ruling. So that is the things actually we find in the here. And after that again we find that here Lord Dalhousie actually announced that the successors of the Bahadur Shah Jafar would not be allowed to reside at the Red Fort. So that is also Red Fort was actually part of the this Mughal emperors like a residence. Now here see they didn't allow, and subsequently you know what happened. Instead would live near the Qutub Minar. Subsequently, what happened here? 1856, Lord Canning announced that the successors of Bahadur Shah Jafar would not be allowed to use the titles of the Mughal rulers, and the revocation of titles hurt the Indian sentiments. So this is the thing happened. So apart from this, the exclusion of Indians from high positions in civil, military, and government jobs caused discontentment among the masses. So here, many of the people actually very much like enraged because of the interference, and without much like a cause they are entering and occupying. So that is here we can see in the area of political causes. Second, we have the economic causes. Okay. Now in the economic causes, some of the areas like a British revenue policy. This is one of the area where you know the policies adopted by the East India Company led to the economic exploitation more in India, and you know how it was actually applied. So you have already learned how the land revenue system actually introduced by the company caused the misery and hardship for the peasants. So we have already learned these three categories of the land revenue policy that was actually applied, and then how this peasants and farmers group in fact suffered a lot, and here the jamindaris and people who were associated with that, how much they earned, how much they gained from these people, and then the people who are actually having the right to occupy those area, they were actually deprived of that. And today, for example, we can find many of the laborers, many of the like workers in different parts of our states. Why the increasing that way? Because they didn't have their own land and they were actually deprived of that. So this is the one revenue policy actually made the miserable condition. So here the peasants were actually exploited by the zamindars and company officials who entangled them in a vicious circle of debt, and a series of like a localized peasants revolts took place prior to the Great Uprising. So we can understand that during this time, you know, a big number of like peasants and farmers came together, and they protested against this policy. And this is not from this 1857, but then before also it happened, but then it was suppressed by the Britishers. Then the confiscation of Jagirs was actually another cause of resentment. That is, the company actually confiscated thousands of like Jagirs from the small jamindars and landlords during the administration of Lord William Bentinck and Lord Dalhousie. So here these zamindars and landlords actually failed to produce written deeds of ownership, and even during the annexation of Awadh, the small land holdings were actually confiscated, and these peoples actively participated in the uprising of 1857. It may say before the zamindars were very much happy because they were given the different workplace, and they have to collect the revenue and to submit to the Britishers 89%, and 11% they have to keep. So at that time these zamindars were, some of them are actually very happy because they were taking away the most of the like land of these peasants and farmers when they were not able to pay the debt and loan. And as a result of that, you know, many of the jamindaris became very rich in fact, because some sort of like a corruption also has taken place because of this policy. Okay, so that is we can find. And when these people were actually deprived of that rights, then now they joined hands to protest against the Britishers. So that is also we can see. Next economic causes that we have got, it is about the deindustrialization. Okay, deindustrialization. How India was actually forced by the East India Company to become a major supplier of raw materials like cotton, indigo, and silk to promote the growth of the British industries. Now, the moment the British came into India, they applied the what on a system called mercantilism. Okay, this mercantilism was actually applied. It means you can't supply anything from here, you can't export anything from here, but you have to supply only the raw material. So that's why Indian soil was actually utilized for the planting the indigo, rubber, jute, tea, coffee, then spices. That's all. And then they were not allowed to import, export the goods which was produced in India. Okay, so that's why Indian market was actually at the point of like a weak side. So that is we can see. So here India also served as the like a market for the goods produced by these industries, and this led to the destruction of the traditional Indian handicraft industries. Traditional zamindars and landlords who patronized these industries were also ruined by the British policies, and thereby leaving thousands of like artisans and craftsmen unemployed and resentful. So these people played a major role during the revolt. So you can understand here that those people who were actually artisans and craftsmanship, these people were actually removed from their job, and when they were actually deprived of that, they have no other choice than to join the revolt and then to protest against the Britishers. So very like serious things have taken place, and this particular event, was very much like a kind of like a shown a kind of a path that is only the solution and no other solution is there. So therefore, this economic causes actually ruin the backbone of our Indian craftsmen, then artisans, then peasants, farmers, and people who are actually working in the different like what called like mills and all. Okay. So that is about the economic causes. Next we have got the social and religious causes. This is another causes actually has taken place, which is actually made the Indians more and more enraged against the Britishers. So here see, since the early 19th century, the British started intervening the matters of social customs and religious practices of Indians. And you know that India is practicing a lot of like religious festivals, norms, cultures, which actually Britishers actually very much like laughing at the Indians. Why? Because sometimes we may be using some of the puja and some of the like festivals which they giggle at, which they find that this is a kind of like a fun. And here, especially in the religious matter and all, so much like the British interfere. Anyway, we can call that that Indians were not far away from the scientific method that they were applying in India, but at the same time Indians were actually believing on the superstition, and a lot of like caste rigidity was actually made the Indians to suffer even from the Brahmins and high class people. So that is also the British in fact stopped some extent, and then some extent they did a good thing. Okay. So anyway, you can see that this cause is actually popular discontent among the masses. For example, acts passed by the British for social reforms such as the abolition of the custom of the sati and widow remarriage were seen as the undue interference. People considered them a threat to their religion and culture. So here the Britishers actually did the one of the good things that they allowed this widow to remarriage again, not to do the suicide in the pyre of the husbands. Okay. Otherwise, according to the Indian culture system, wife has to be what called like a jump in the pyre of the husband when the husband is burned. Okay. So this is the systems actually they had. Anyway, people actually considered them a threat to their religion and culture. Then the activities of some of the Christian missionaries also created resentment among the people, and this made a large section of the society suspicious and apprehensive of their attempt of converting them to Christianity. Now, people when they are hungry, people when they need the shelter, home and food, then certainly they will not look for the any sort of like things and all. So that's why at this time, many of the like Christian missionaries in fact took the advantage of that, and then they converted some of the people from Hinduism to Christianity. Okay, so that is also happened here. So the introduction of the Western education led to the undermined importance of Pandits and Maulavis, who played a major role in the traditional educational system. So they brought the educational systems and then they started applying, and their education system was actually within the four corner of the wall, and our Indian system is out of the four corner of the wall. So that is a difference we can find. So it means we have the Gurukul system and they had the inside the house the education can be given. That is it. So these are the few things that I have mentioned about the social and religious causes. Apart from that, there are many of the causes are there which we can discuss in later on. So in the next video, I will be talking about the military causes, immediate causes and all. Okay. So see you. Thank you.